All right, guys, how you doing today? Joe here, and really excited to share with you the next phase of Blueprint. And we should already have a bunch of notes and a lot of information because we went over, hopefully you went over the target client info. And so we're going to really explore the next part, pardon the pun, of mining for prospects. And this is really where, we know what kind of customer we want to get. We've already gone through that. And this is going to be the next part of where do we find the names, okay? Where do we actually find these people? How do we find these people? What are different ways to find these people? Which ways work the best? And the answer's not the same for everybody. So I'm not going to, at the end of this tell you, well, this is the one thing you got to do. And nor am I going to tell you, maybe there's something that I'm not a huge fan of that you have had success with. It doesn't mean that it won't work for you. The entire system will still work for you. It just might be a little bit of a difference of opinion, and location might have something to do with it. Who knows? But really excited to just kind of go through it all. And really what I'm trying to get out of this is give you some new ideas. Give you ideas of maybe where to find prospects where you haven't been able to find them before, and then really kind of change your thinking in terms of what little cost you have to spend to obtain a prospect. Now, before I get into anything, and this is something very important, and once again, get your notebooks out, and I want you to take notes here. Something that's very important is there is a difference between a prospect and a lead. And a lot of people I hear, they're interchangeable, and it's absolutely not. And I will argue this to anybody out there. Prospect is really just somebody's information. Okay, that is somebody's, maybe just their name, even maybe have their vehicle information if you're selling car insurance, an address, phone number, just their information. A lead is something that it's a person that is actually interested in a service, okay, interested in talking to you. That's a lead. A lead is somebody that has shown, some form of interest in buying. So there's your main difference. So I want to put that out there first. Okay, and that's important. That's an important concept to get, because as we go through this, I'm gonna point out some quote unquote prospects that are maybe disguised as leads, or actually switch that, vice versa. They call them leads, and they're really prospects. So we're gonna go through that. I'm excited. Are you guys excited? All right, let's get going here. All right, so mining for prospects. So, as I just went through, there really is, there's just so many options, and it's tough to tell what the right ones are, because obviously if you're going for the flavor of the week, you're going to waste a lot of money, you're going to waste a lot of time on what works and what, unfortunately doesn't work. And it just is overwhelming after a while. I know that, I'm getting emails every single day about how to get new leads, get a 2,000 person list here, a 5,000 person list here. Well, buy this lead for $10, blah, 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 blah. And there's a ton of options. And it really just is cumbersome. And so what I really am hoping we do today is narrowing down. Remember I talk about the funnel? We want to narrow down the funnel so you're not getting leads and prospects from 18 different areas. Because A, for tracking, it's a nightmare, and B, it's just, there's no reason to do it. By the end of this, I'm going to show you there is no reason to do that. All right, makes sense? Great, let's get going on this. And let's go through, I really just want to go through all the different, just to show you guys, and this was a quick list I put together, okay? I didn't spend an hour on this list. This just to show you how many different options there are for getting prospects nowadays. We can, of course, buy leads, which if you are a fan of mine or know anything about me, you know where I stand with that. Buying pre-screen lists, that's, those emails you get, buy 2,000 leads for X amount of dollars, 5,000 leads for $100. So those are pre-screen lists. And real quick, both of those, they're always advertised as leads. Those are prospects, okay? The reason I put buy leads is if I put buy prospects, it might have been confusing. If I put buy leads, you guys know what I'm talking about. And so when an internet company or any company, telemarketing, I don't care what it is, when they're saying buy leads, you're buying prospects, because I don't know how many times I've called an internet quote unquote lead and they have no idea how I got their information. Maybe once in a while it happens, but it's rare anymore. So that's a prospect, not a lead. And that's why I wanted to make sure we knew the difference. So that's a couple things that we are just seeing more and more and more. They're very costly, but those are definitely options, and why I will kind of show you why we need to steer clear of them. Make sense? All right, door-to-door is some old school, but it still works in telemarketing. Those both are outbound processes. Now, from those, you're developing leads, okay? But obviously, they're prospects first. You get a list, or to go door-to-door telemarketing. There's your prospects, and then if you can make that a lead, go ahead and make it a lead. Personally, not a big fan of door-to-door, and I have done it. I've done it, and it's miserable, and I hate doing it, and I will never do it again for the rest of my life because there's absolutely no reason to do it. Some people live and die by it, but for me, it's not a Joe thing, so never going to happen for me again. And telemarketing is effective in numbers, but with about 82, I think last thing I saw was 82 or 85% of people are on a do not call list. So telemarketing is kind of beating a dead horse at this point, and I think you're going to see telemarketing be completely gone within about 5 years. So, but they're both obviously still around, a way to get leads. Telemarketing, I'm not saying it can't work, because it can. Same with door to door. I'm personally just not a big fan of it, which we'll talk a little bit about that. But those are two kind of old school techniques that still go. Sponsorship, it's one of those things where it's a double-edged sword. Because you can really sponsor some great causes, and I do that, and it's good publicity, and it's good to help somebody out that it's a good cause. However, from an actual cost standpoint, it's a horrible thing. I have never ever once, I think, got a sponsorship where I felt it was worth it. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I am just not finding the right opportunities. Maybe you have had a sponsorship that's killed it for you. If you have, keep going and don't listen to me, because if you found something that works, great, do it. But for me, it's a funny thing. I got a story. When I first got into business, I'm a huge hockey fan. So I put my name. We have a local hockey team here, AHL minor league team. It's a step below the NHL. So what I did is they approached me for sponsorship, and I could have gotten just like a $300 package for the year and gotten maybe a little small blip in their program, been done with it. But not me. No, they said, well, you can get your name on the ice for $6,000. I was like, ooh, that's exciting. So I went ahead, I did that. Can I tell you, I want you guys, guess right now how many phone calls I got for quotes off of that. Maybe 50, right? 50. Spent $6,000, maybe 50. It wouldn't be a great return on investment, would it? No, it wasn't 50. Lower. 25, 10, no, 2. I got 2 calls. That means I spent $3,000 a lead. $3,000 a lead. And by the way, I did sell both of them. But they definitely did not result in $3,000 each premium. So sponsorship, I'm a little ill towards, but if you found a good one, good for you. And stay with it. Absolutely. All right. Just, I like to share those stories because I might help somebody else out if hockey team's trying to sell you something. Hard copy advertising. Those are your newspaper, billboards, things like that. Really, I am one of those that believes the newspaper is not read as much. I know it is still read and circulated quite a bit. I guess, the newspaper, here's what I'll say about newspapers. It depends on your target market. Okay, so it's all going to go back to that. Now, if your target market is maybe a little bit older, a newspaper's still going to work for you because they're seeing that. All right. If your target market is a little bit younger, obviously it's common sense. They're not going to see the newspaper as much. So that is more, even though I don't do it because that's not my target market, a lot of you guys that are listening to this are people that I'm going to guess you don't read newspapers every day. But if you're a financial planner, okay, or you're into retirement and investment planning, a newspaper is probably not a crazy idea because the people you're trying to reach probably are still reading the newspaper. So it just depends. It's kind of one of those funny gray, no pun intended again, areas that, whether you should advertise in a newspaper. Billboards, I don't mind them except the costs are usually pretty high. So the hard copy advertising is out there. So it is available, but the billboards really, if you look at a billboard most of the time, you're going to see a big corporate logo on it, right? You guys know what I mean? Like it's going to be a big corporation, something of that nature. Makes sense. And I think that's what they're effective for. You'll see a lot of like McDonald's, fast food, those types of things. If in our business, you'll see Geico, big companies like that, because it's really, they're going for mass advertising. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make, and we're going to talk about this later more in depth, but one of the biggest mistakes you can make in your marketing is trying to follow what a corporation does. Because you got to remember, they pretty much have unlimited funds, whereas we don't as small business owners. Okay, so that's why I bring this up at the billboard area, because that's what I think of. Billboard's really a big corporate presence, and the cost just really isn't there. Event participation, this almost goes a little bit with the sponsorship in some cases, because a lot of events are centered around a cause, which can, like I said, be great. Events are good too, because you're having the opportunity to meet with somebody face to face. They generally, they can be expensive, and they are kind of a tedious, thing to put on. The biggest thing about events is you have to have a darn good follow-up process with people you're meeting. And there's a fine line at events also, where you can push the line into being a salesperson and marketing yourself, and coming back and actually just having to be there for the event. And anybody that's done an event, you know that, you know what I mean? So can they be good? Yes, it's not something that I use. But they can be good. Let's, I've been really kind of, I don't want you to think I'm beating up every single thing here to mine for prospects, because there actually are some I like. And that's what we're going to get to right now. Once again, this is going to kind of depend on your target market. But online advertising, okay, and we'll obviously get into this, but online advertising, it's the way to go. It's the way to go without a doubt. It's something that you need to get into if you haven't gotten into. And I'm going to get you into it, so don't worry about that. If you don't have a presence even at all right now, we're gonna change that for you. But you absolutely want to be into online advertising. Current clients, believe it, it sounds so simple, but some of your biggest prospects and leads are sitting under your nose. If you have current customers, or your company has current customers, they're right there with cross sells, and we'll go into more in depth referrals, things like that. But that's one of the biggest places that prospects are hiding out, and it's something that we maybe think about, but we don't have an active campaign for. So, and we're going to get into that a little bit, actually a lot of it. And then old quotes, requotes. You've heard me say the word requotes before in the past, and this is what I'm talking about. This is your old quotes. Don't let the word old throw you off. It just means they weren't sold at some point. And an old quote can be from a week ago and can be from 10 years ago. But it's definitely something, if it hasn't been sold, there's no reason that's not still a prospect. Once a prospect, always a prospect until they're a client. All right, so you got two people in this world. Everybody in this entire world is either your prospect or your client. That's it. It's that simple. They're either your prospect or your client, and there's a lot more. Many, many more, but don't have enough space today. And like I said, this was a quick list I put together in like 2 seconds. So now all my negativity is I'm a very positive guy, right? You guys know I'm positive. Nod your head. Yes, you're positive. Thank you. But I'm going to show you my little bit of my negative side. At the end of the day, here's what I think. The event participation in newspaper, I know I kind of said a little bit gray area on there, but for this purpose, I'm really wanting to focus on these three: online advertising, current clients, and old quotes. Okay, and obviously this might sound pretty basic, but I really want to dive in depth with these, okay? Because I really want to make sure that you're comfortable with all three of these and you're using these to your maximum benefit. And remember, like I said before, the less things you have to do as far as trying to get 18 different hands out there to bring in prospects, the more defined you can be and the more focused you can be. So if we can really just go on these 3 items and get focused on these 3 items, it's just going to make your life a lot easier, and you're going to, believe it or not, see so many more opportunities come from it, so many more sales come from it. And in the big picture, when we go to our next big step, which is creating our marketing campaign, this part's going to be crucial for you. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at those. So we're going to go ahead and I would like to start with the online advertising. All right, and so we're going to go into basics a little bit here. Online advertising can be anything, that you can think of that happens online. I know that sounds pretty basic, right? I'm a genius. But yeah, it's anything that happens online. And there's really, if we start at the top of it, there's two types of online advertising: paid or free. Okay. And we're talking Facebook, banner ads, email marketing. And you can do a lot of this yourself, or you can have, real basic training and learn how to do it yourself. And that's something that I'm going to provide to you also. Okay. The biggest thing, especially, I want you guys, if you're an exclusive or a captive agent, I want you to really listen to this. So if you're working for one of the big companies as an agent, and they monitor a lot of your websites and that type of stuff, the first thing you need to do if you are doing this is stop paying for expensive SEO. And SEO is search engine optimization. If you guys don't know what that means, that's basically you're paying somebody to get you up in the search engine ranks, the Google rankings. Okay. The reason I say if you're a captive agent, you got to be careful paying for this, because a lot of the big corporations, they actually, believe it or not, they have control over your SEO. And they're doing it for you. And a lot of that is based off how well you're doing compared to other agents in the area. Different companies do it different, so I don't want to say, Allstate does it one way, Nationwide does it another, State Farm does it another. I don't want to say they all do it the same, because that's not true. But I do know that they have control over that. So you could pay thousands and thousands of dollars a month to some company that has really expensive SEO, and it probably wouldn't make much of a difference. The only way it's going to make a difference is if you have your own separate website apart from the company, which you definitely want to run by your company. You could pay for SEO on that site, but you're still not going to get above your company. And speaking of websites, that's our next one for online advertising. And what I mean here is, your corporation, if you're an exclusive or captive agent, you would have a website. A lot of them, they might be nice and professional looking, but I always encourage you to have your own website. And that's for so many reasons. Obviously, one is control. And, that example of the SEO is perfect for that. It's good control of what you can do and the different types of advertising you can use for it. Okay, so control is a big thing. Also, and I'll teach this in, we have an upcoming, I'm gonna schedule it. Well, how about this? I've been thinking about scheduling a online web conference just like this one. But it's going to be live, and I want to just go over website training and that type of stuff. So if that's something that would interest you, just shoot me an email, joe@imwithallstate.com, and I can do a whole live training on, my theory on a website. But having your own website is, I think, crucial. So many people that are, working for a corporate, franchise as captive or exclusive, they're happy with the corporate or franchise website. Big no-no. Big no-no. You have to have your own. And there's so many different places that I won't endorse any single one, but there's a ton out there that you can just make your own website. Or you can hire somebody, and you can find someone cheap out there. So definitely websites. And then really don't miss a single opportunity. And what I mean by that is really your email signature or any type of service requests. So let's talk about your email signature. Every single communication you send out should have your email signature, and that email signature should have something, some link to your website, some link to your Facebook page, something. Okay, never miss an opportunity. And even if you don't remember to maybe cross-sell that client, or maybe if you don't remember to mention life insurance to everybody, if you're trying to go after that, just put something on your email signature. There's no reason not to have it on there. And then service requests, what we like to do in our agency is email confirmation of service requests. Once again, that's not missing an opportunity. Okay, so those are different online advertising, and you'll notice it's actually saving you some money here as opposed to not saving you money. And then educational pieces. You'll see, if you ever looked at my insurance website, you'll see this. Videos, got ebooks out there, articles, and it's really consumer-friendly stuff. It's not too high stuff, because this is doing two things. One, it's educating the customer, but two, when you educate the customer with a video, with an ebook or e-article, you're perceiving yourself as the expert because you want to be the expert. So whether it's an actual customer, prospect, anything, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be a video, an article, blog posts, Facebook posts. You want to come off as the expert because when they have a question or they, want to buy new insurance or switch insurance, whatever have you, you're their expert. Does that make sense, guys? All right. Okay, so that's online advertising. Is everybody getting this so far? Because it's real important to make sure that's a huge one. Online is something I obviously, as you guys know, I use. That's basically my business model is online. If the internet decided to be illegal tomorrow, I would probably be homeless. And I want you guys to be comfortable with it because it's not going away, and you guys know that. I don't have to tell you that. So let's go to our next one, which was, if I remember right, current customers and clients. And we all know that these are the number one people to sell, right? We all know that. And if you don't know that and you're new in the business, we're telling you that right now. This is the number one easiest way to sell a policy is through current customers or clients, and obviously cross-selling. The biggest thing here, though, is, it's one thing if you are taking a payment for somebody or doing a service request and you see somebody has car insurance but not home insurance, and then, it clicks in your mind, right? What I encourage you to do is have an active campaign going just relentlessly, that you're always hitting people up. Basically I tell my staff, if somebody only has one policy with us, we need to know why. Why is that? It's about building that household, building that relationship. Even if you got the 22-year-old guy who has car insurance, but he lives with his parents in the basement. What about life insurance? Okay. What about having that conversation with him? And, you want to be number one whenever, that guy finally moves out and maybe rents an apartment or buys a house. All right. And some companies call it bundling, multi-policy, whatever it might be. You want that entire household under you. Okay, so you got to be not just always looking for those opportunities, but you have to have an active campaign for you and your staff to follow and relentlessly do it. And you can see when we go through the campaign portion, you guys, I don't want you to miss that. What I'm doing now, the Mining for Prospects, is very cool, very exciting. I love doing this. The most important thing that we're going to really put together is the creation of the marketing campaign. That's an exciting lesson, and that's really cool and fun. I get goosebumps just thinking about it because it's my favorite part. But anyway, you're going to see how to put these campaigns together. But as far as right now, I just want you to know this is just an excellent resource for prospects. But you got to do it the right way. Okay. Let's see here. Whoops. Next is direct referrals. And direct referrals, what do I mean by direct referrals? That is actually asking the customer for referrals. You can do this. There's so many different ways to do it. And I think the big conundrum in the insurance business, and tell me if you disagree with this, guys, is what is the best referral process? Because we all know that referrals sell. There's no doubt they sell. Next to really current customers, and we'll go through, referrals have to be number 2 or 3 on the list of easiest sales, but it's just getting those. Now, there's definitely different ways to ask for the referral. I've been successful with several different avenues. Giveaways is always a good one. If you give me a referral, I'll put your name in for a giveaway. Other people have had a lot of success when they're doing a new sale. Maybe they're getting some paperwork together. They walk out of the office, and as they're walking out, they have a form. They put it in front of them and say, "Hey, write down your 3 best friends' name so we can get them a good deal on this too." There's a lot of different ways, but that is, if you don't have any referral process is better than none, right? Any referral process is better. Even if you are asking somebody, who can I call that you can refer to me, and I can give them a quote on car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, business, whatever you're doing. That is better than nothing. So we got to have a referral process, a direct referral process of some sort, because you're definitely missing the boat. Even if you only get one once in a while, you're missing the boat. Now, that being said, there are different ways to get a lot of referrals, and we'll go through that at a later time. But you got to have a process of some sort, because you're really going to be able to dig a lot of prospects out of there. And then indirect referrals, and that's more of what I was talking about with the giveaways and events. Those are more you not directly going one-on-one with somebody, but they are, maybe coming to an event like we talked about before, and they're having a good time with it. Or these giveaways aren't the raffle giveaways I was talking about with the direct referrals. These giveaways, you have a customer coming in for a payment. Well, maybe you have a free pen or a free roadside kit is what we used to do, and you give that to them as just a thank you for doing business with us. Well, they're going to tell somebody about that. Okay, so those are indirect referrals. One cool way that we used to kind of do this, and it does a lot of things. If somebody calls you for a quote of any kind, the one thing you might ask is, who referred you in today? Okay, because that does several things. One, makes it appear as this referral is how we run our business. Okay, so that's a great way to bring it up. Does that make sense? Right? And then the next thing that really does is it puts it in their mind, who can I refer? Before you've done anything at all, right? And it's unique. It stands out to them. So that's just a neat little question. Is somebody calls you for a quote, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who referred you today? Okay, or at the end of the sale, who referred you in today? All right, and that does a lot of things, right? Yeah, okay. Let's see. And a periodic review process, which I'm assuming probably most of us have. If you don't have this in your office, you want to do this of some sort. What we used to do is email out and send letters out to everybody on their renewal dates, have them come in for a review, and you generally, if you can, want that review with either a manager or the owner of the office. And at that point is when cross-sells can happen, referrals can happen. You can do all these things when you got them in front of you for a review, especially if you can save somebody money. That's definitely the time that they're really, really happy, and we'll give you that information and give you a chance at quoting or cross-selling anything, or maybe upselling to life insurance. So a review process, absolutely crucial to the success of our agency, and it's definitely something that you want to do. Now, some of your companies will do this for you in a way, and depending on your company, they might have a great method that they already do. And there's even some vendors that will, you'll have to pay a little bit for it, but they'll do it for you. That's all great, but if that's happening, you just want to make sure they're not missing any opportunities for new prospects. And if you have a good vendor or a good source that's doing that, then they shouldn't be. So definitely a review process of some sort will develop more quotes for you. All right, which obviously leads to sales, and then more engagement online. Okay, and what I mean by that is taking your current customers and your current clients, and you want to get them engaged online. Mainly, a social media, Facebook page. I don't know if you guys, some of you will have Twitter, things like that. You want to get them engaged online somehow. If they don't have their email address with you, you want to do that, because now when you can engage them online, it opens up a world that they can share things. If it's Facebook, they can share things. If it's good information and content through email, they can forward that or send that to somebody. And we'll go through that hopefully in that online training. But that's huge is, if you don't have a like us on Facebook somewhere, once again, your email signature is great for that. If you don't have it in your office somewhere, even if you don't have a Facebook page, I need you to stop this recording right now and go do that before we do anything else. And you should be slapping yourself in the face, because you need to at least have that anymore. Facebook is I can go on for days and I won't. But does that make sense, guys? You see what I'm saying with that engagement online? Will you sell, Facebook, you're not going to do a lot of auto insurance sales right through it, because that's just, in our industry, you can't do that. But you're going to really be able to have a relationship with your customers and clients if you can transition them from doing business with you over the phone or in the office onto online. It's just another way to engage, build that relationship, and really have a nice community feel to it. Right? Got it? All right. So let's keep going here. And then remember I talked about old quotes, old or prior quotes. And by old, I don't want to, there's a misconception when I say old, like 5 years ago. No, I'm talking old, anything that you haven't sold. So it could be a week ago, doesn't matter. I'm huge on this. This is honestly what I built my agencies off of. Anytime I've worked for anybody else, bought my own, worked for myself, this is what I've built my business on. So I'm going to say this again, if you've been tuning me out and you got me on a second screen or minimize and just been listening, stop and I need you to pay attention for a second, because if there's nothing else you get out of here, this is going to be your biggest, in my opinion, one of your biggest ways to get some prospects going. So you need a requoting process, and you need a good one. Okay, and we will go over that. Part of this blueprint is going to be the requoting process, and we got a great requoting follow-up process for you that absolutely kills it. So you definitely want to do a requoting process. And that, depending on the company, you could be able to get quotes from up to 10 years ago. I don't know, everybody's database is a little bit different, but you got quotes out there. All right, and make sure that you're using them, because I'll tell you what, you don't pay for them, and you might have at some point, so might as well get more money or more use for the money. Does that make sense though, guys? All right. And follow up on initial quotes not sold. So, I see so many times, failed close attempt, or, I got, all the objections, I got to talk to my spouse or whatever. Okay, all right. And they don't call back in 2-3 days. And there's no follow up on that. Okay. And this is such basic stuff to you and I, because you might be the owner, the manager, been doing this a while. But if you got a new sales guy out there, this is not basic information. You have to teach your people to do this. You have to have a follow-up date. That means you're capturing contact information. You're either emailing or calling them, and you need to follow up on these initial quotes, not sold. Just like the quote requotes, it's just equally as important. Especially if it's an initial quote, that means they're shopping now, or somehow you got a hold of them now. So, you don't want to let them off the hook, because you could really be doing them a great disservice if you let them go. All right. And for all this, you really have to have an automated process. And I don't mean like on your computer, it's doing it for you. What I mean is a consistent process that everybody knows their role every single month on what they're doing. You can't just have, 1 month, let's focus on quote requotes. The next month, we're going to focus on Facebook. The next month, we'll go back to the quote requote. No, it needs to be every single month you're doing this, because you don't want to miss any. And if you have consistency with prospects, you'll have consistency with sales. Very simple. Does everybody hear that? If you have consistency with your prospects, you will have consistency with your sales. You guys get that? All right. Automated process is absolutely a must. And then I'm going to keep going and harping on this a little bit. Follow the consistent periodical process. And, that goes with the automated. So quote requotes, for example, I do monthly. Without a doubt, you got to do them monthly, because that's just 30 days to 45 days is enough. Okay. And really at the end of it, if they say no, quit bothering me, great. You did your job. You contacted them enough. But you would be shocked how many times, if you, maybe don't get them the first month, maybe don't get them the second month, all of a sudden the third month they're calling, hey, I've gotten this from you a couple of times. Especially if you're doing the direct mail that you'll learn about in a little bit if you haven't watched already. If you're doing the direct mail process, works like a charm. You got to do it every month. Even off 1 or 2 direct mail campaigns, your results will be huge. Imagine doing it every month. That's how I honestly have grown my business. All right, and then lastly, let's take a look at cross-quoting. What do I mean by cross-quoting? Anybody guess? What do I mean by cross-quoting? Give up? All right, what I mean by cross-quoting is I noticed when I bought my book of business, I went through, I luckily inherited all the prior agents' quotes. They were all auto insurance, which is normal. You're going to find that. Most people didn't have home insurance. So, we're not presenting them the bundle, right? So what I did, which, I don't know, seems simple to me, was I created home insurance quotes. I had my staff create home insurance quotes. And I did 2 things. One, I would send out in our mailing packets the home and the auto quote both together. And then I would also send out, I would test it, and I would send out the home. And then what I would do is, if I had a customer where, I created that home quote or even a renter's insurance quote, and I sent both quotes out and I still wasn't getting a response after a few different times, I would then just do the home or just do the renters. I actually got a better response off of that. Okay, did you guys hear that? So for example, if you have a client per your notes or dating or whatever you do to keep track of when you're sending things, because you got to have that as part of your process, keeping track of it all. If you see you've sent this person 3 different auto insurance quotes in the past 6 months, okay, try sending just the home or just the renters. See what happens. See what happens, because now they're getting something different, because for all you know, they think their home price is great. They don't want to switch, and it's a big pain, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you're creating something new for them in a way. Okay. So, be aware of that. See how many, I guess I should say, how many you got just monoline quotes, because you're going to be surprised how many there are. I bet you a majority of your old quotes out there are auto insurance. So I want you to go look at those, start working up renters, start working up homeowners, start by sending them both out together, and make sure to key in on the multi-policy or bundling discount that your company will give. Or if that's not working after a few times, go back to just sending the home quote or the auto quote. And you're still just sending one quote out. It's just a different product line. All right. Makes sense? All right, so now moving on, I want to talk a little bit about databases, and we're going to kind of, this is still definitely in the prospects, mining for prospects, but we're kind of changing it up. Because databases I fully believe in, I love, as long as they are used correctly. All right, before I go on to the next one, I want people to start guessing, what is the number one mistake that agents make when it comes to databases? And for those that don't know what I mean, databases, your Sales Genie, Salesforce, Coalesce, all those types of things. All right, so I'll give you a second. What is the number one mistake that agents make using databases? I want you to write it down. All right, got it? Give you a second. All right. Number one mistake agents make when using a database is they use prospects that only have phone numbers. How many of you either guess that or do that? I bet you a lot of you do that. Because when you're on a database, you think that you have to have a phone number for this prospect to be effective, right? And some of you might not use databases at all anymore because you realize that most people don't have phone numbers. The reason they don't is when you subscribe to a Sales Genie or a database, something of that nature, if they are on the do not call list, you will not see a phone number show up. Okay, so if you have 1,000 prospects in front of you, what did I say, 85% earlier on the do not call? 850 of those won't have phone numbers. The number one mistake I see people use, and this is not just insurance agencies or financial advisors. This is any business that uses databases. They only take the prospects with the phone numbers. And with how cheap databases are per prospect, it's insane to think that people do that. Okay, so you need to take them all, because when you combine that prospect list with our direct mail, you don't always need a phone number. People will call in at that 20 to 30% response rate that we get. And you're missing out on so many huge opportunities. This is the main point I wanted to bring up. And even, if not for this point, I might not bring up the whole database thing. But this is a huge mistake that I don't want you guys to make. And this is one of my 95%ers. 95% of people make this mistake. So now I just informed you to be the 5% that don't make it. All right, you got that? Okay. What else with databases? Sorry about that. Define it as much as possible. Databases are all demographic. There's no way around that. They're all demographic, and I know we talked about there's a lot more important things than that. But for a database, it's all demographic. But good news is you can define it it's insane. What you can go by income, family size, obviously male, female, age, zip code, own or rent their house, what type of car they drive. You can even Sales Genie actually has a new feature, if I'm not mistaken, that's available. It's either coming out shortly or it's out now, where you're going to be able to get people's VIN numbers, right? So you want to define it as much as possible. You want to just put, I'm in Manhattan and I want 24 to 28 year olds. Well, you're going to get a lot of prospects and a lot of junk. Okay, so you want to define it. Really what I do is pick your age range, make it at least a 10-year age range. I wouldn't do male or female. And then I want you to at least do 5 zip codes around you at minimum. You can do more. You can do more than that. But at least 5 zip codes around you. And then depending on what you want to do, if you're trying to sell to affluent people, you can go by income. If you want just homeowners, do that. And it's pretty cool. Sales Genie, if you're a subscriber, you can call them. And Kohl's probably has the same service, and Salesforce I don't use, so I'm not sure. But you can call them and tell them what you want, and they'll define a search for you. and they're experts at it, and it might save you some. Well, it will save you some time. It's just a matter if you want to call them. But you want to define that as much as possible. Even though it's all demographic, you might as well do the best you can with it, because databases can be awesome. Especially for their costs, it's really no comparison compared to buying a lead of some sort. And remember the rule: if they have an address, they're a prospect. Remember the two things. Everybody in this world is either your prospect or your customer. All right. So if they have an address for this database, they are a prospect that you can use. All right. And you want to have experience. Keep doing it. You want to use to Uber effectiveness. I love that word Uber. And I don't mean the car service. I just mean Uber effectiveness. So learn. Sales Genie, Coles List, Salesforce, they have tutorials. Use those tutorials. They're videos. They're so easy to follow. And if you're subscribed to them, you can just use them for free all you want. So, learn all you can and be an Uber expert when it comes to databases. Because I'll tell you what, if you can get this down, you're going to not spend a lot of money, and you're going to be better than 95% of the people out there doing it. All right? You guys get the database thing and why I feel that's important? All right? Yes? No? Great. All right. Awesome. Let's keep going. Now I want to really talk about where the misses are. What are, I like to call it the biggest leaks in the boat. Okay, and this is for any agency and myself when I first started too. Now, a few of these you're going to see we've already talked about, but I want to we'll go through them a little bit more in depth if we've talked about them. So let's go to my first one, biggest leaks in the boat, no follow-up on quotes, right? And that could be that the initial quotes that we talked about. So if you didn't get them to buy right now, that could be the initial quote or the quote requote process that I talked about. Just no follow-up on quote is it's crucial to your success, because especially when you're making obviously auto insurance to us, because we do it every day, is not a huge purchase. To a lot of consumers it is, even though money wise it might not be a big thing. To them in their life it's a big thing, okay, because they're trusting their vehicle, their family, their assets, everything to you. So that's a big decision. So I want you to think for a second. Let's flip it around, because we're all in the insurance industry, so it's tough to step out of those shoes. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to now be a consumer of anything you can think of that's a big decision in your life. All right, let's say you're picking an attorney because you got a big lawsuit pending, or let's say you are going to buy a car, or let's say you're going to buy a boat, because we're talking about leasing the boat, so why not? You're going to go buy a boat, snowmobile, I don't know why I have vehicles on the mind, a house, okay? So let's think about that for a second. You check out prices, you shop around, maybe you go visit a few. Are you going to buy on the first time through? No, of course you're not. Rarely. I don't, I've bought a couple houses in my day, and not once have I walked into a house and said, yep, this is great, we'll take it. And with a car, I haven't done that either. So, you got to realize these people, even though it's not a huge money decision, it's still a big life decision. So the fact that they're not buying right away is okay. Like they're allowed to think about it. Obviously you want to close the sale right away, but if we can't, we can't. So if you're not following up on these people, that's kind of like if you went and looked at a house and I told my realtor, you know what, this kind of looks nice. I almost think I want to do this, but let me go talk to my wife. And he never follows up with me on it. Okay, how silly would that be? That didn't make any sense, right? So that's why we want to make sure we're always following up on any quotes. Okay, so biggest leak in the boat right there is not following up with quotes and prospects and leads. All right. Sorry I have to do this with my mouse. There's something wrong with my keyboard, so I know you guys are probably hearing the click every time, and I apologize. How about one of the biggest leaks in the boat? We didn't talk about this. Lost or terminated past clients. Okay, this one kind of takes people back for a second, because they're like, well, they left me. Why the heck would they want to come back? The number 2 easiest sale, and this is statistical, this isn't my opinion, this is actual statistical information. Number 1 is your current customers. Number 2 is past customers. All right, so let's dissect this for a second. Past customer could have left for what reasons? Let's jot some down. Price, right? So price, all right, did you guys get that one? Price, how about another one? Right, because they're unhappy, right? Somebody upset, ticked off, that's a good reason to leave. What else? Maybe they moved, right? Maybe they moved. Maybe they didn't pay their bill, right? How many times does that happen? Maybe they didn't pay their bill. Okay, so I just listed 4 simple things. Now, out of those 4 big ones, dead, right? Out of those 5 things, 2 of those are no reason they can't come back to you. And that's price, and maybe they didn't pay their bill, okay? And even if they were ticked off, I want to know why they were ticked off. Because what if you can correct that? What if you can correct it? Maybe they were ticked off with a prior agent. Maybe they were ticked off with a staff member that's not with you. Maybe they were just ticked off at the company in general and not you. All right, so I'm telling you, you guys, there is some way always to, no matter your companies you write for, there's a way to get past or terminated customers. So you want to get that list and you want to get those quotes rolling. And even if it was a policy that might have been terminated 15 years ago, quote it with the same information. If they live at the same address, I would shoot out a mail piece to them. And if it gets returned, it gets returned, and no phone number, and then fine, it's dead. But this is one of the biggest missed opportunities any agency have. This is a 95%er, okay? So mark this one as 95%er. I'm just going to start saying that from now on, by the way. This is a 95% one, all right? The next one is something that is more for probably newer, either newer agents or to relate to your newer staff members, is the amount of times I see people not capturing adequate contact information is absolutely crazy. And what I mean by adequate contact info, we are pretty much, I think, all of us get the address, and most of the time I would hope get the phone number. All right, but you always that's a minimum. You want to get their email too. You want to have those 3 methods of contact, because now you've hit them on all 3 sides. All right, so now you can mail them, now you can call them, and now you can email them. And by getting their phone number, they have already given you permission to call them. Obviously, different states have different do not call laws, so I'll throw that disclosure in there. But the point is, they gave you the information. Especially when it comes to email, if they gave you the email, you can email them. That's not spamming. They gave you that information. Now, obviously, if you email them a few times, they say, stop emailing me, I'm going to report you. You might want to stop. You know what I mean? So, but it's just imperative, go for the 3. All 3. You want address, phone number, email, no exceptions. All right, but I see that's one of the biggest leaks in the boat, because if you're not capturing adequate contact info, you might have their address, but they might not respond to the direct mail. Some people just don't, obviously. So a phone call is better, or maybe they don't want to answer their phone, so a direct mail piece is better, or maybe they don't want to do either one of those, and they're online all the time like I am. Email is better. If you want to get a hold of me, my cell phone, not the best way to do it. Mail, depends on if I got one of my mail pieces, I would, because, well, I love that type of marketing anyway, but I do notice unusual mail, but email. Believe it or not, I'm an email junkie, and there's people I'm sure that I am talking to right now that you delete a bunch of emails without even looking at them. So we're all so different, so that's why you want to capture as much contact information as possible, and you want to tell your staff to do the same. So 1, 2, 3, address, phone number, email, no exceptions. I got to a point where we wanted to really have our staff capturing emails, and if they were doing a new quote, and they ended up selling it, and I didn't see an email, I'd cut their commission on it. And I'm serious, because, and let me tell you, when I made that announcement, I didn't miss an email. I never had to cut one person's commission. Okay? So that's just, if you're an agent or a manager, that might be a really kind of neat idea. And it's not trying to be mean, it's just showing the importance of it, because now when you're messing with somebody's paycheck, it shows you how important it is. Okay? So what are our 3 things? Write them down if you didn't already. Address, phone number, email, capture that adequate contact information. All right, let's move on from there. We talked about this one a little bit, but I'm going to say one of the biggest leaks is a poor referral process or no referral process. Any referral process is better than none, but if you have a poor one, it's a big leak, because you need to have some form of a process that is constantly happening. Okay, so, and I don't care what you pick. If you pick the methods we talked about earlier, if you have a different one that's working for you, that's fine. Just make it consistent. It needs to be a process. You guys hear me use the word process a lot, because that's what all this is based off of, consistency and processes. And if you can do that, it's something, consistency just is, consistency in your processes create consistency in your paychecks. Okay. If you didn't get that, consistency in your processes creates consistency in your processes, or in your paychecks. One more time, if you're writing it down, consistency in your processes creates consistency in your paycheck. Got it? Okay. And in your business. So write that down. That's important. So, any referral process is better than none, but a good referral process obviously is better than a poor one. And usually I see, if I'm talking to an agent, if I got a private client and, I say, okay, show me your referral process. They say, well, we ask, during at the end of the sale, who else could get an auto insurance quote. I'm like, that's not a process. That's just you once in a while remember to ask for a referral. And I call them out on it because that's the truth. You need if I come to your agency tomorrow, if you hire me to come to your agency tomorrow, which you can check out that information if you want to, or email. Just email me. You guys are on. If you're on this and listening to this, I'm not going to make it go through everything. Email me at joe@imwithdavis.com, and myself or one of my reps will give you a buzz, and we can set that up and go over that process of going out to you. But anyway. If I come to your agency and I say, show me your referral process, and you don't have either something printed, something on a computer, or something that everybody knows on a board, then you don't have a referral process. And I don't care what it is. I really don't, because there's a lot of good ones out there, and I'm sure there's a ton of referral processes that I don't even know. Because I'm being honest with you, this is an area I struggle at. I struggle at referrals. There's a lot of agents that are far better at me at the referral process. That's why I'm not giving you a ton of specific referral processes, because quite frankly, guys, this is an area I struggle in. But as long as you have a referral process and it's consistent and it's decent, just do it. Okay, it's better than nothing, and it's better than a bad one. And then also one of the biggest things is your instant post-purchase follow-up with new clients. So that's you get a new customer, leave your office, and you're just saying, hey, call us when you need us, right? We don't want to do that. We want to follow up with them, see if they got their paperwork, or if you do an electronic stuff, they get their emails okay. Did they get their insurance cards okay? Did they get their homeowner's insurance stuff okay? Did everything go okay? You want some sort of a follow-up with them. Now, I've seen some agencies, insurance companies, Allstate, actually has a really cool thing where the agents can sign up for something that will automatically send a thank you and some follow-up stuff too, and that's great. I would totally encourage that. But also have your own process. And this does a lot of things. One, it helps build that relationship, that brand new relationship. Two, if you missed them on the referral side or they couldn't give you a referral, you can ask again. And three, if you weren't able to bundle something up, you can go for the cross-sell at that point too, because they're still very happy with you. All right, but mostly, it's good to establish that relationship, because that's going to lead to sales. All right. Does that all make sense, guys? These are important. That's why I wanted to show you this, because my theory is if you know where the issues are, and I had issues with all of these, absolutely. And as I said, I still have issues with the referral stuff, but I have issues with all of these at some point in time. And they're so true, because once I fix these things, I can't tell you how many more sales we had as part of this process. It was awesome. All right. So does this make sense to everybody, this biggest leaks in the boat thing? Okay, you can see how each one of these can really produce some huge results that otherwise might not be there if you're not thinking about them. All right, so here's some fun thing I want to do. And we're running almost an hour here, so I do want to respect your time. But then again, you can, if you have to run, you can always come back later. But I want to go through each of these, okay? Which I covered most of it, but mainly I want to do it just to make sure I got off on tangents on each one. I'll be real on, because this is live. Whenever I do this stuff, it's live. I don't go back and edit or anything like that. So I kind of went off on tangents. So what I want to do is I made slides up for each one of these things. Okay, so I'm going to go through them, and let's make sure we didn't miss anything. Mining for prospects. So we'll start with the loss terminated. And yep, like I said, it's not always due to price. We listed those several other things. And yeah, so your rates or service. So what I meant by that was, let's say they were upset at another agent, another staff member, or the company in general. Those things might have changed, okay? So you definitely want to contact these people, see what the heck's going on. Worst case scenario, they still hate you, they yell at you, and they're still not your client. I mean, seriously, what's the worst? Another thing here too, I actually gave my sales guys an extra $10 if they sold one of these. right? Because it can be a little intimidating if you don't really think about the theory behind it. And be like, oh boy, I'm calling somebody that's ticked off at us about insurance, and I'm just kind of setting myself up to get yelled at. But I'd give them an extra $10 if they sold one, and actually went really well. I had a sales producer, he was really into it. I had to kind of back it off. They do have, whether it's good or bad, they have a prior relationship. And most of the times it's not bad. And if it is bad, it's probably at the time was much worse than it is now. They've had time to chill out about it. So if it was a bad relationship, they probably had a bad experience with others too since then. So either way, they have a prior relationship with you. Okay. And this next one, as I mentioned, second easiest sale to make besides a current customer. And if they come back to you, this is one I didn't mention, so I'm happy I did these slides. Believe it or not, if you haven't messed too much with these lost and terminated past clients, if you do get them back, they actually are more likely to refer people to you. The reason being is they feel comfortable again if they're coming back. Okay, they feel good. So they'll start with their family members and they'll be like, I went back and they were better than they were before, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like if one of your favorite foods, if the flavor changes, you buy at the grocery store like a cereal or something and the flavor changes. So you don't eat it for a while and then you see, oh, they got a new flavor, or you try it again somehow and then you start buying it again. You tell people about that, don't you? Be like, I didn't like it, but they changed it. It's back to where it was, So they, believe it or not, they refer more people to you. So we hit most of that, not all of it, but we hit most of it. So I'm glad we went through it again. The contact information, once again, phone, email, address, and you got to put that out there. Put it on a Post-it, right? Put it on a Post-it. I told you to write it down. Okay, a couple other things with this, and you do want to ask, and this kind of avoids the thing I was telling you before because you don't know how they want to be contacted. Simply asking them that is part of it. You can ask them at that point of sale, and sometimes it's just not the way, because they'll not answer their phone, even though they say they prefer a phone call. But ask them anyway, and put a note out there somewhere. We all have noting systems, and if you don't, you should use one. Put it out there, and just that way everybody knows their preferred method of contact if they got to get a hold of them. Okay, because if somebody really hates to be bugged during the day via phone, and they told you they told you to email them, then you want to email them, because that's the last thing you want to do is really, get them upset. Okay, so when you're quoting somebody, when you're quoting that prospect, ask them about their preferred method of contact. Okay. Let's see. And recognize how they contacted you. There's a big key. It's more important, also how they heard about you. So let's recap that a little bit. So if they're calling you, most people do call you. That's just the reality. Even if they like to email or come in, they'll call you first. But when you're talking to them on the phone, ask how they heard about you. Was it a friend, family member? Was it an ad? This question here I require of all my salespeople, because I want to know how my money is being spent on advertising, marketing, or is it the referral process? How did you hear about us? Okay, ask that about everybody, and very rarely do you get, I saw the sign and walked in. You get that sometimes, but rarely do you see that. Sometimes it might be the corporate commercials, and that honestly, between us, I loathe that answer. When somebody says, oh yeah, no, I saw the commercials on TV. Ugh. It's like, well then, why am I spending the money? But most people, let me tell you, it's worth it to do your own marketing. Because rarely do I even get that answer. But just a little fun. All right, does that make sense? And once again, I'm going to go reel this back in. I said this about 12 times. When you ask for the phone, email, and address, the more methods of contact, the more chances of follow-up. Okay, I had a kid work for me that actually had a great idea once, and he's like, why can't we just ask them to like us on Facebook right then and there? I was like, it's brilliant. Absolutely. Whether they buy or not, ask them to like you on Facebook. Everybody has a smartphone just about. So when they're in your office and you're quoting, say, you got a smartphone? Yeah. Oh, we're on Facebook. Can you find us on there? Yeah. Oh, well, we'd appreciate a like. They'll do it every time. They'll do it every single time. And it was funny because if you don't sell that prospect, you're still showing up on their Facebook news feed. And who knows, So that the more methods of contact, the more chances of a follow-up and a sale. So that was a really cool idea. So like I said, I am not the expert, and I always am learning things, even from the people I hire. They're teaching me things every day. So cool stuff. All right. Good stuff, right, guys? Isn't this fun? I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here in a minute, but it's really cool. All right, let's go to that poor referral program. And as I said, asking for a referral is just the start of it. Okay, now that's better than nothing, but asking for a referral is just the start of it. Oh yeah, I'm really happy at the slide. So using the 3W template. If you do not know what the 3W template is, don't worry, it is in your template section. This is for current customers and new customers. You can use it for either one. It's such a simple 3-question. And I do and you'll see it. It'll make more sense when you see the template. It's just 3 questions for the client. 3 W's, and the W's are wheels, walls, wealth. And so would you trust a friend and family with their wheels? Would you trust friend and family with their walls? Would you trust us with your friend and family's wealth, or your wealth? And so it's a good referral program. It's great for cross-selling. It's the 3W. It's funny because I created this. And I didn't really mean for it to turn out like into such the big thing that it is, that people are using. People are loving the darn thing because it's such a simple form, but it's very impactful. Okay, so go after this, get the 3W template out. You should be looking at all the templates because they're all going to help you, but get the 3W template out and just start using it, and you'll help your referral program, the cross-sell program, and you can customize it. It's fully, all your templates are fully customizable, so you do whatever you want with it. But it's very cool. Giveaways always have worked for me. Now, depending on how you do it, how we used to do it, and if you want to jot this down, we used to literally tell people with any referral that'll give us an opportunity, we will put your name in for a $500 gift card every month. And one person won that every month, and that was, sometimes we did the Best Buy, Target. We did Target around Christmas. That was nuts. If you got holidays coming up or something like that, people they go nuts over that. I think that month we got 40 or 50 referrals. And that was before we really grew into a big agency. So 40 or 50 referrals now is something that is expected. But so the giveaways are a big deal. Give away a gift card, money, things like that. For every referral, okay? And trust me, if the $500 made you choke a little bit, it's worth every cent. Absolutely. Or do it, how about this? Let's go back a second. If $500 a month is not in your budget right now, try it first with $500 a quarter. All right, so you're talking $2,000 a year. $500 a quarter, okay? And you'll be just shocked at how many more referrals you get. All right? And if your customer has a unique experience, they will refer more. And what I mean by that, you don't have to do jumping jacks or headstands or anything like that, right, guys? What I mean is all of this, everything we do, okay, this whole entire blueprint program with the Underground Agency Secrets is unique. All right, this is all about developing a unique experience. It's just different. You just want it different, okay? And when it's different in a good way, they'll refer. All right, they will refer. And some of you guys, if you just took a second with you and your staff and sat down and said, how can we be different? You'll come up with so many ideas in a 10-minute session that you won't know what to do with them all. So that's huge, is if you can be different and give the customer, prospect, lead a unique experience, they're going to refer to you. They're going to refer to you without a doubt. Okay? All right, and then instant follow-up on new purchases. And as we already talked about, it's the best time to sell additional products, the best time to talk about referrals, tying up the loose ends, making sure it's satisfied. Now, one thing I didn't talk about, which also has worked great, is if you're like a lot of, at least the captive and exclusive insurance agents, you have life insurance and financial goals to set up. And at the end of an auto or home insurance sale, it's actually a little tiring to do that. So, and plus you've sold them a lot and you don't want to take their time up, you don't want to overwhelm them. So what I do is called the next phase. Okay, so this is important. Once again, if you're not listening or have this, stop for a second, go back, write a note down. This is the next phase. So when you're calling them on this new instant follow-up, new purchase, here's what you say. You do all your other stuff first, okay? You talked about anything else you need to. And then you say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, this is great. So the next phase is we're going to have you sit down with so-and-so, either yourself, a financial specialist, and we're going to do a free financial review, or we need to review your life insurance. When is a good time to do that? And just, you be quiet. Okay, biggest thing I ever learned in sales is after you ask a question that is open like that and kind of a closer question, you be silent and you let them answer. Okay, and you'll be amazed how many times you will get that appointment. And when it comes to life insurance financial services, the appointment is obviously what it's all about. So the next phase line is awesome when it comes to that follow-up process. But you got to have a follow-up process first for new customers and new purchases to do that. Okay, and we talked about those other three, so I won't go too much more in depth about those. And they're pretty self-explanatory as well. All right, let's wrap it up here. Have you guys learned a lot? Yeah? Excellent. Good deal. All right, so I'm excited. I hope you're excited to get this stuff implemented. It's a lot of information, so I know that it's tough to take it all in. That's why this is on here. You can keep watching this, watch certain sections. I try. That's why I don't do. If you notice my PowerPoints, they're not all over the place. They're not a bunch of pictures and junk. It's pretty. I want you to be able to scan through it and pick out the part you need at that moment. Okay, and obviously, if you need something specific, you can hopefully quickly get it out of here. All right, so why do I think the way I mine for prospects is, in this whole presentation, why do I think this is the best thing for you guys? Is it because I think I'm awesome and know everything? All right, for those of you shaking your head, yes, you haven't been listening to me, because no, I definitely don't know everything, no, I'm not that full of myself. I learn just as much from everybody else as I teach, because I believe to be a good teacher, you never stop learning. So anyway, why do I think what I just explained and showed you is the best way to mine for prospects? Number one, it really costs almost next to nothing. Okay, and actually I think we're going to see a little mix up on, there we go, getting out of the mine, wrapping up. A lot of what we just went through, if you notice, and I invite you to go back through it, doesn't cost you anything. A lot of what we just went through, ways to generate prospects, leads, and more sales, is not costing you a dime. All right, it's not making you buy leads and pay for all this SEO on online advertising. There are some costs if you go that route, but a lot of these processes, they don't cost too much. And most of them are free. And if they do cost anything, it's not much. I just showed you our 95% category of fixing the leaks, right? We fix the leaks in the boat. And that's a really great thing too. What I do, actually right next to me, I have a fixing the leaks type page, and I put it right next to my desk. Because I always want to be reminded, if I'm struggling or our numbers aren't where they are supposed to be, I always look at, am I fixing the leaks in the boat? Because if nothing else is going right for your office or your agency, if you simply can go back and make sure you're not letting any leaks out of the boat, you'd be surprised on how many times, oh yeah, we're not really doing that as well as we could. We need to change that. So I encourage you on that one page that I had, fixing the leaks in the boat. Let me see if I can get that one. Give me just a second here. All right. Oh. This page right here. All right, let's go back. So the biggest leaks in the boat. If you can print this page out, or, I don't think you can print it from the video. Some of you might be able to, but write it down if nothing else. Type it up. Look at it right now. Pause it here. Ready? Pause. All right, thanks. Unpause. So if you write this down and have this somewhere, I got one of my staff in here laughing at me. If you can write this down and have it somewhere, so you can always look at it. So that way, if you're having a tough month, your numbers aren't where they're supposed to be, you can just look at this and say, are we fixing the biggest leaks in the boat? Okay. All right. So let me go back to where I was, which was the absolute last slide. Almost there. Appreciate your patience, guys. I felt that was really important to share with you. All right. And also, everything that I would say 92% of, I know I do weird numbers, 92% of everything we just went through gives you almost an endless supply of opportunities, because you can't do it all. And it's never ending. Okay, you're always going to be quoting. You're always going to have terminated clients unless you have 100% retention, which I've yet to meet anybody that does that. Some people close. I am not one of them, but some people close. What do you think a good retention rate is? I get off on this a little bit. I get off. No, that didn't sound right at all. I get distracted. I get off topic about this. Good think it is. Yeah, I'm in New York. A lot in our area. We're top in our area, and we were only at 92%. But I've had some people tell me it's like 95. And then I have other people towards bigger cities that are like 78, 79. Interesting. Email me what your retention is. joe@imwithdavis.com. I want to know what your retention is. Huh. And put in what state you're in. That'll be interesting. Okay. Thanks, guys. So endless supply of opportunities. Because, all these processes, there's a lot to it. And you should never run out of things to do for your staff, right? So your staff should never be bored again. And I'm not saying you need to be looking over their shoulder, making sure they're working hard and checking their internet and all that stuff. But what I am saying is complacency leads to more complacency. I know it sounds dumb, but it's true. With all this stuff, you need to share this stuff with them. You need to share it, and you need to show it. You also need to show it. They're looking to you to guide and lead. And now you have a template for your sales producers. If they say, I just don't have any quotes, I have nothing to work. We just went through so much that your sales producers and staff should never be bored again, right? Does that make sense, guys? All right. Well, I want to thank you for sticking this one out. It was a long one. It was important, though. It was very important because really this is all bottom dollar stuff. Because really what I want you guys to realize is you don't have to spend a lot of money on internet leads, on any list, on expensive junk to get prospects. You can get prospects everywhere. Because that's what it comes down to. The more prospects you have, the more leads you can develop, the more quotes you give, the more sales you have. And it's that simple. So if you could have a never-ending supply of prospects, all that stuff can be never-ending, right? And remember, the process, a consistent process leads to a consistent what? Paycheck. You got it, guys. All right, I'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for joining me, and I am signing off for today. Bye.